Plants vs. Zombies was known for its tower defense style gameplay with a huge collection of recognizable plants and zombies. Garden Warfare introduced us to the idea of these mascot icons for these characters, giving each one a unique identity and purpose. It really feels like that spin-off and its quote-unquote heroes led to the turn-based card collecting game Plants vs. Zombies Heroes. Of course, in this genre of gaming, your cards and decks are extremely important to your success, and it's impossible to talk about the game without those strategies. But the secondary aspect to PvZ Heroes is, of course, the heroes themselves. 11 plants and 11 zombies are the mascot characters, each with their own set of cards, decks, and incredible designs. These heroes are truly iconic, but naturally, if we're talking about Plants vs. Zombies on my channel, then that means we must be ranking every Plants vs. Zombies Heroes hero. Obviously, you can have awesome decks and strategies and play amazingly as any of these heroes. Every tier list of these characters is a little biased and subjective, but there are definitely some that are more fun to play than others, heroes that are really annoying to play against, or ones you simply connect with or do not understand. I will try to be fair while also making sure this list is my own, and I'm not just looking up whatever Fry 'em Up thinks and repurposing it as my opinion. We'll be going back and forth between the plant heroes and zombie heroes, meaning our list for today includes Green Shadow, Super Brainz, Solar Flare, The Smash, Wall Knight, Impfinity, Chompzilla, Rustbolt, Spudow, Electric Boogaloo, Citron, Brain Freeze, Grass Knuckles, Professor Brainstorm, Nightcap, Immorticia, Rose, Z-Mech, Captain Combustible, Neptuna, Beta-Carrotina, and Huge-Giganticus. Without further ado, let's find out which hero is the most heroic and which one makes an imp look stoic. The mascot of Plants vs. Zombies Heroes and one of my favorite Peashooters of all time is the one and only Green Shadow. As she is our first hero, she'll be a good introduction to how we'll be discussing each hero. The obvious one is design, which as I mentioned I love, but it won't really be a factor in our ranking. This is on how fun they are to play, not how cool they look. Then the next big thing is their unique superpower. It doesn't get more basic than dealing 5 damage in the middle lane. It can be fun to start around that way, and maybe they'll play a big zombie there to kill, but I doubt I'll even get footage of that because most people know better. It's not an amazing power, but it's definitely not the worst either. Finally, we need to look at the types of decks you can use with the characters and how much I enjoy their playstyles. I need you all to know I am not a pro player in this game. I hadn't really made a single custom deck before this video. I'm going off my own experiences and the expertise of the people in my comment section. So if my rankings are bad, blame them! I'm kidding, of course. While there is a plethora of Ps you can play and make a deck out of, the Ps aren't great. Most of them are cheap and easy to kill. So then you're left with a budget freezing strategy, or maybe a bean strategy? No matter what you do, there's another plant out there with better combinations of cards than anything you can make with Green Shadow. While I love Green Shadow as a character, and I have fun with a Peashooter themed deck, I think I gotta start our list on a C tier. I went back and forth on whether I liked playing as plant heroes or zombie heroes more, and I finally come to the conclusion that zombies are superior. I think most players agree, as it takes forever to find matches as a zombie, and like 3 seconds to find them as a plant. You get the final attack in each round, getting to use one last trick to mess up the plant's defenses. That's a lot of power, and you always want to be the one in control in these games. Now, the general theming of this video is that I don't own any good cards, so my custom decks suck. I know that will be frustrating, but I promise, I will still be fair to the heroes I don't have the best cards for. I realize this whole video can be summed up with a simple skill issue comment, trust me. Anyways, I had to make the Jig special with my own ideas, and the deck was so intimidating my opponent gave up before I even had the chance to try it. His superpower is to move a zombie and do a bonus attack, which theoretically could win you the game, but it completely relies on you having cards to use it on. I definitely prefer the ones that just always do the same thing for you. It's much more consistent and something to fall back on if needed. It's a great power, just not suited for my playstyles. He also shares the same classes with Huge-Giganticus, who's just a better hero. I've always thought these zombies and plants straight up taken from Garden Warfare were pretty boring, with Super Brainz and Rose in particular. The other superheroes are so much more fun and unique. To just have a Rose here doesn't fit with the others at all. At least Super Brainz is an actual superhero. But I really don't care for the guy, and after recording for this video, I will likely only use him a couple of times ever again. C tier. Here comes the fan favorite, Solar Flare. Not even because she's an amazing plant or has broken decks, people are just horny. I already went over this in my Every Sunflower Ever video. I don't feel the need to curse you with NSFW fan art any more than the 5 or so I've already put on screen. You're welcome! I will admit she does have an extremely adorable design. She's an S tier in that regard hands down. As a Sunflower character, of course her main benefit is having more sun per turn, either by using her solar class plants, or her very good superpower dealing 2 damage and giving you an extra sun for the rest of the game. You gotta love being at an advantage against your opponent at all times. A strategy used against me a lot, and one I know people love, includes the Pine Clone, a plant I definitely wish I had. You make clones of cheap plants, you can throw in other legendary cards I also don't have, it's awesome! The best I can do is try for an aggressive deck, strong plants only. It's honestly exhilarating playing a deck like this, especially when you win on such a close call. Doesn't work on every round, but it's guaranteed to make your blood pressure rise without fail. You can try for a heal deck, but I much prefer doing that with Wall Knight, so I'll save that discussion for him. I really like the card Solar Flare is able to bring in, but I've yet to use a strategy that makes me want to consistently play as her. In my opinion, she goes right down the middle with a B tier. The Smash is one of the rare cases of having some really good superpowers, but it just doesn't matter. You can destroy a plant with up to 4 attack all you want, good luck winning with a guy. Everyone's favorite card, going viral, is your best shot at making him good. But why not just use that same card with the multitude of other zombies who have it? I really don't mean to bully anyone who likes playing as the Smash. Someone in my comments called him their baby girl, which is insanely amusing. You've earned some Reddit gold today, my friend. I've just personally seen the Smash on the lower side of most lists, and I've never enjoyed using the guy. His playstyle just feels all over the place. You can heal a bit, you can get a couple of strong zombies out, maybe destroy a couple of plants, the list goes on. Why not just pick one of these aspects instead of none? I won a couple of times with some really strong zombies, but even then I was cutting it pretty close. I will say I love that we got a Gargantuar hero, complete with a little imp as the cherry on top of his luchador design. Very fun. Anyways, absolutely D tier. You'd assume a knight-themed hero would be all medieval and old-timey, but they went the complete opposite direction, making him a high-tech knight. Who knows, he might even be a white knight. But just like how the Sunflower obviously helps with sun, the Walnut hero is all about defense. You'll have so many nuts on screen, I'm surprised YouTube allowed me to post this. His main ability is to be invincible for a single turn, which a lot of the time is sort of just delaying the inevitable. But it can certainly help save you and even win you the game when used well. As promised, we must discuss the coveted heal deck for Wall Knight. This can be done with any solar plant, but it sounds like it's best used on Wall Knight, who also has Guardian plants to help you out even further. When used correctly, you can go from no health to oops all health, and your opponent can only attempt to slow you down as you decimate them with an evil grin on your face. It genuinely feels diabolical. It is crazy frustrating to be on the other end of. You gotta shut it down right away before it gets out of hand, and some zombies like Electric Boogaloo feel nearly incapable of going against it. This will probably be one of the more controversial takes of the list though. A lot of people love the Wall Knight, and sadly, I'm just not one of them. I don't like playing them, and I definitely don't enjoy playing against them. Change my mind, for now it's a B tier. I'm sick of all these low tier losers. Let's get our first top tier hero, Impfinity. I love the concept of a clone character for the zombies, and with the amount of imp cards in this game, it's really the perfect fit. The crazy and sneaky class combinations make for some amazing decks too. I know the pirate zombies are a big hit, and why most people put him at the top of their list. The pirates are like an unstoppable cult you don't want to mess with. But you don't really even need a big strategy here, especially if you're just allowed to throw 2 infinities out on round 1. I'll also only take 1 notch for each of those hits, of course. Has your opponent played a really powerful plant? Who cares, just throw an imp down and give them deadly and they can't even stop you. Making zombies deadly is so powerful in this game, and it's kind of Infinity's expertise. I feel like this isn't even a case of me liking Infinity's playstyle more or having a good deck for him. I just think he's generally in a league above the others from the get-go. He quite literally goes to infinity and beyond. I love you, buddy. I hope you enjoy being our first S tier. Chompzilla is the last hero I unlocked in this game, and it really wasn't intentional. I just ended up getting everyone else first. I actually really like her design, and I've heard a lot of people like playing as her too. I'm really not sure how to feel about her main ability, killing one zombie with the lowest health. Sure, if the biggest zombie is the only zombie, that's great, but otherwise it's pretty easy to counter. Anyways, I was told to try an onion ring stack for her, and it didn't go amazingly. I only have one of those, so there's only so much I can do. I never saw that damn onion, so I just had to win by being insanely good at the game, no biggie. It felt like even in rounds where the lanes were filled with zombies, I wasn't even worried. Chompzilla was just on top of dealing consistent damage through strike through and early attackers. I've never had so many strike through cards in the same deck before, it definitely worked in my favor. Mega Grow and Solar Plants just seem like a good combination to me. Let me know what your thoughts on Chompzilla are. From what I've seen of her so far, I'm thinking A tier. I honestly never really liked playing as Rustbolt. To be fair, I only ever used the default strategy deck, so that might be why. The best I could do to give Rustbolt a fighting chance is to make a better sports deck, since it's probably one of the easier decks to make for a broke boy like me. I do really enjoy sports decks, building up a team and then just making them invincible round after round, not to mention adding in Frenzy to all of your invincible cards. Although I usually use Z-Mech sports decks, Rustbolt works pretty much just as well. His ability to subtract 3 attack from a plant is another I'm pretty mixed on. I would much rather just kill the plant with the Smashes ability, but there are definitely times where it's useful to have a useless plant on screen. Because I like using sports decks, I won't give him a low rating. I did pretty good with him here. He's just really not for me. Inferior to Z-Mech, I'd say. Jarvis, put this man in B tier. For some reason, it feels like every week they chose Spudow to be the weekly boosted hero. I'm seriously sick of the guy by now. I almost always use a zombie hero instead just because I have such a hard time winning as the guy. But don't worry, all you potato heads out there. I'm definitely not giving him a top tier placement, but I'm willing to try out some new techniques. It turns out no one really makes budget decks for Spudow. Of course they don't. So I resorted to making my own once again. The problem was I didn't have much of a strategy to go for. I just brought in some cards I liked and tried to make it work. He does have a great superpower though, that Hothead has straight up won the game for me a few times. I doubt I'll get footage of it, but using it on an environment that hurts you to get rid of a zombie and give your plant an extra attack is one of the coolest things you can do in this game. I have no idea if that makes sense or not, hopefully you know what I mean. As one of the smallest plants in the first game, it's really funny to make a potato mine into a superhero. I wish there was a whole potato team I could go for, with tons of mines at my disposal. But Spudow is really just a strange combination of cards in my opinion. And it's okay from time to time, but nothing all that special I'd say. B tier. I really want to like dancing zombie decks, but they almost always go poorly for me. At least sports zombies are able to power each other up and stay alive. Most dancing zombies are weak and easily killed. Getting some big damage with the flamenco zombie is always the best, but having zombies on screen to actually make it happen is much easier said than done. As usual, I'm sure it's a skill issue, but it's mainly why I don't like Electric Boogaloo very much. I made a budget deck for him that was alright. I definitely win more now that I've given him some good cards for once. But still, Electric Boogaloo has to be one of my least favorite zombies. I know I've seen people say he's their favorite hero, and if that's the case, let me know what I'm doing wrong in the comments. Fun name, decent design, still C tier. As a Guardian and Smarty class plant, Citron definitely feels defensive and big brain. Personally, I'm not huge on going full defense, so I really like having a little protection while still dealing damage. His ability is like the opposite effect of the Wall Knight, making your plants invincible for a turn rather than your hero. I really like it, probably even more than the Wall Knights if I'm being honest. There's a deck for Citron called Countertron, which is pretty self-explanatory, that apparently is the only reason he's a decent hero. But am I the only one that likes playing with him regardless of that one deck? I've had some really great rounds with the guy using a random budget deck I came up with. I've always had fun with Citron, just imagine what I'll think when I can make Countertron. And while I wish he wasn't pulled straight from Garden Warfare, at least he looks a little superhero-esque. I'd like to give Citron an A tier. On the complete opposite side, I have never enjoyed playing as Brain Freeze. Despite his main ability allowing players to freeze all plants on the ground, zombies don't really have freeze decks. There are a couple of cards that can freeze, but not enough to revolve a deck around it like you would on the plant side. His best deck is probably based around pets, which can be strong, I'll give him that, but why Brain Freeze for this type of deck? Choose someone with superpowers that aren't Dog Dookie. Have you ever tried playing against a Brain Freeze? I always feel sorry for the guy. Brain Freeze is, very simply put, unreliable. It sucks because Yetis are so cool in PvZ games usually. It does take a little bit of the charm away from him to just be out and about here, but I'm glad he got to be a hero still. Regardless, long story short, if you like Brain Freeze, try Immorticia. She's just better. D tier. Grass Knuckles is by far the most reliable plant hero. Everything I like about Citron is perfected by the Bok Choy, who, once again, is one of my favorite plants in the history of Plants vs. Zombies, so me loving him here should be no surprise to you all. He's my boy! You also gotta play him aggressively, which, as I said before, is insanely invigorating. Another great thing about my boy is his main superpower, dealing 2 damage in each ground lane. Getting it early on to use on your opponent's defenses is fine and dandy, but are we being aggressive? Play that thing immediately and start the round with 6 damage dealt to your enemy. It feels so great to win a game before the other guy can even start his plan of action. Grass Knuckles is really fun, and his best playstyles are exactly what I like to do in these types of games. My absolute favorite plant hero is going all the way to the top as our second S tier. If you like getting the last laugh with your tricks, then Professor Brainstorm is definitely the hero for you. Most of her strategies completely rely on conjuring cards, meaning you could be playing completely different cards every game, even ones you don't own. As a player with very few legendary and event cards, I gotta admit he's pretty appealing. I think his design is great too, one of my favorites on the zombie team. I received some wonderful comments with suggestions for decks to try out in this video, and so many of them look so fun. But I really should have asked for budget decks. I can't make either of the ones for Brainstorm they suggest for me here. So I made my own, with a lot of tricks that will help me work towards the trickster himself. I also put in a lot of low-costing zombies, meaning some rounds I was able to win before I even played the damn trickster. Professor Brainstorm can be a lot of fun, but he's so RNG based at times, I'd rather have a more consistent character. I've had some really exciting rounds and others that I felt physically incapable of winning. He's still a really fun hero. I'm giving him an A tier. Not too long ago, I thought I liked mushroom decks, but it's really the equivalent to a dancing zombie team for the plants. Mushrooms are crazy weak and meant to be mass produced. I could do a ton of small damage, but most runs end before I can actually kill my opponent. Maybe it's just because I want to like the only mushroom hero, Nightcap. Mushrooms are my favorite plants, which is a pretty funny sentence now I think about it. But that doesn't mean they're all that great here. The most fun mushroom card is Nightcap's superpower itself. You deal 2 damage to a zombie and place an anti-hero mushroom there, allowing you to deal 3 damage guaranteed if you're using it in a fight sequence. It's always great to use on a zombie with 2 health. I made an attempt at a cycle deck where your goal is to draw as many cards as possible with the Grape Environment and deal little bits of damage with an Emerald Navy Bean and the Astro Shroom. You're supposed to have 4 of each though, so it's not a perfect deck, but I gotta say I enjoyed using it. What's nice is you don't even need the Grapes of Wrath to do a lot of damage, and all these cards are so dirt cheap you can change the game in a single round. Despite really liking this deck idea, the mushrooms have just done me dirty too many times at this point. I'm sorry, C tier. I don't see many people play as Immorticia personally. I'd rather play as Professor Brainstorm, and by the looks of things, my trickster strategy for Brainstorm is basically the same deck you'd want to make for her too. So again, I'm left asking, why am I choosing Immorticia for this concept? I know she has good tricks, but doesn't Brainstorm too? What beastly cards are going to help enough to warrant her importance? I say none. Now, that doesn't mean she gets thrown down in D tier, she can still be pretty good. For one, her bat superpower is nice, not only putting some bats on screen, but drawing a card every time they deal damage. Not bad. Immorticia as a character is very fun, combining zombies with witches and vampires and all the supernatural cryptids all into one girl boss package. But even still, it feels like she's one of the more forgotten heroes in the game. She has her fans, but most like me don't see her in action all that often. I'm saying C tier again. Before writing any other line in the script, I made a note to talk about how the Rose is toxic. Some of the most evil players in this game have made Rose decks that will ruin your life! I can't remember a time I enjoyed playing against a Rose, even if I won! I've also already mentioned I think the Rose as a hero in this game is a super boring choice. They should have made her an Elastigirl Rose so you could get some much needed fan art. The characters in this game don't have enough Rule 34, am I right? Jokes aside, people told me I had to discuss Rose's freeze decks. You can make this setup with multiple heroes, but Rose seems to be the best at it, thanks to her insanely powerful superpower to turn a zombie into a goat. See, this is why she's toxic. You ruin a whole man's career sometimes by turning their best guy into a goat. But I took it a step further. I mixed their freeze deck and heal deck into one, which is pretty mediocre I must admit, but the way I ended this round was definitely a little toxic. All I did was survive and fully heal my Rose to 20 HP, and just when my opponent brought out the big guns, I had just enough stun to play the Zucchini, basically Rose's goat move but with every zombie on screen. That was one of the most satisfying wins of the video. And that's why you gotta love the Rose. Even if she sucks to play against, you know you want to make others feel the exact same way. She has so many cards that turn really strong zombies into absolute crap, which is a very powerful ability. Still, I'm definitely taking that aspect into account, meaning Rose is not the most fun plant out there and she's going to stay down in A tier. For me personally, if I had to choose a favorite hero in the game, I would pick Z-Mech. It just feels easy, man. Literally with the default bare bones deck you're given to start with him, I still win most of the games I use him in. Maybe I just like his style? Maybe I've gotten insanely lucky in matchmaking? Who can say? It's definitely not because I like the character concept, that's for sure. We already have an imp hero, they just copy and pasted his mech from Garden Warfare and pretended that was a superhero. Why do we need the Hulkbuster when we already have Iron Man and the Hulk? Nope, I just think he's fun. I love the ability he got too. Anytime you're up against a team of mushrooms, you can wipe the whole lawn clean with just 1 damage each plant. It's about on par with electric Boogaloos, but I don't even need the health, I don't even want it. What I do want is to find some cool new decks for the guy, as I've only ever used the default in-game one. One is called Z-Mech, using Flag Zombie to unleash a horde of cheap zombies all at once. Definitely up my alley. I love sports decks for the guy too, so I found some better ones out there that have been going great. Anyways, let's just wrap this up, right? I already said he's my favorite, he's obviously going in S tier. Out of all the iconic plants in the series, the Torchwood definitely wouldn't have been my first choice into making into a superhero. Personally, I think the Guacodile or Snapdragon could have been much cooler, but if there is one thing the Torchwood is known for, it's powering up its allies. Giving any plant an extra 4 attack is pretty nuts. Makes a weak plant beefy and a strong plant even stronger. It's probably one of my favorite powers on the plant side, it just feels so powerful. The main problem with me using Captain Combustible is, think of any of the best Kabloom or Mega Girl cards. Click Peas, Bananasaurus, Captain Cucumber, even the Black Eyed Peas. Guess what? I don't own a single one of them! I have no options for busted custom decks because I don't own any busted cards. I have a single repeat Moss, so his one-turn kill combo is technically viable, but still. That doesn't mean I should discredit the plant's abilities simply because I can't use him well. It just means I can't truly grasp how great he is until I get those cards. Despite this, I'm still able to pretty consistently win as a guy. I'm really enjoying this banana themed deck he has. I've yet to lose with it. A couple close calls for sure, but that just makes it more fun. I think Captain Combustible is really great, and I'm close to saying yes, but I think I'm gonna hold him back to an A tier. I feel like it's been a while since I've done this, so... Neptuna. I hope one day she will be mine. Neptuna is one of my favorite zombie designs in this game. Her octopus hair is so smart and so funny. What's even better is that the octopus has a purpose, being her main superpower. It's kind of just a decent amphibious zombie with no other attributes, but I still think it's pretty good. I ended up trying an Oops All Gravestones deck, specifically meant to counter plants like Solar Flare. One day I'll add the Pogo Gravestone Digger to this deck and really make it the best it can be. I also wanted to try one with a bunch of my strongest zombies, as Neptuna can use quite a few. Both were pretty fun, but in the end it just felt like I was trying to create decks that other zombies are way better for. Neptuna is fun, I just don't think she's one of the best. B tier it is. I originally felt so ashamed and like a complete fraud that I'd be making this video without owning Beta-Carrotina. On the one hand, it's not my fault she isn't available to purchase at any time, but on the other, that probably means I should wait until I unlock her, right? And then I find out she's the worst hero in the game. Maybe I should save my gems anyways, huh? It's kind of funny that the only plant hero added after the launch of the game isn't even good, but I do have to wonder, why is that? Apparently the big reason is because of her superpower. You get a single random plant that specifically can only cost 2 sun, and it gets a little boost and can be placed anywhere on stage. Let's remind ourselves that Professor Brainstorm conjures 3 cards and they can beat any zombie in the game. Her secondary powers are definitely better than the main one, and that's pretty sad. Besides, Citron is just a better Beta-Carrotina. That's what happens when characters share the same classes. I did get to try her once in a daily challenge, but there's really no way of judging her off of that. It's cool they created this carrot character to be a brand new hero, and then proceeded to make it the laughingstock of the game. D tier. For the anniversary of PvZ, they gave new players like me a single chance to spend all their currency to unlock this character. I had about 2,000 gems at the time, so it was 2 chances or nothing. My first pack was a dud, which was truly terrifying. It felt like Mario Kart Tour all over again. But thankfully on my second pull, there he was, giving me the final zombie in the game, who's actually pretty good. I guess I'm glad he was featured and not the carrot. They gave Huge-Giganticus only good abilities, including the main one that reduces the cost of the cards in your hand by 1 brain, and giving you a free environment on top of that. There are so many environments to use with this guy, the best one being the teleporter one. Mix your favorite Impfinity deck with some teleport shenanigans and ways to upgrade their strength, and you've got a great deck. Speaking of, we have our 3rd Imp hero now. Seriously, the name is pretty funny, but you couldn't have used any other zombie class here. I kinda wish he was a GOAT, to be honest. Then again, we already have 2 other imps in S tier, so clearly I like their style. But something about Huge-Giganticus just doesn't click with me. This one is definitely a skill issue because I know he's good. Give me your suggestions for this guy while we end our list with one last B tier. Despite the sheer amount of times I mentioned how I couldn't make cool decks in this video, I've consistently won so many more games now I've been making custom decks for this video. I'm realizing I actually understand some of the strategies I like, and I'm able to make decks of cards I actually like using rather than hoping I randomly get those cards by the luck of the draw. I also learned so much about the generally liked heroes in this game, and even if there may be a few controversial takes here, I am very happy with how my list looks. It's so nice and symmetrical, I love it. I'm sure it's just totally stupid, but at least it looks nice, right? As we wrap up our list, I think it's important to note that all these characters are awesome, and even if you don't like playing as some, you gotta admit there's some really awesome designs here. I would really love for these characters to be incorporated into other games more often. I think it could be really fun. And hey, this game is about to get a new balancing badge, so maybe it's returning. Wait a second, that also means this list is going to be immediately outdated, isn't it? Why do I even try? Thank you all so much for watching, and please let me know how truly idiotic I am. I really try my best here, and I hope you appreciate the effort I put into starting this game from scratch this year, all leading towards making this one video. But I could make more if you want. There's a lot of cards, but I'd sort of have to unlock them first. Let me know if you'd want to see it. Let's assign some heroes to some members, shall we? There's only 22 of them, so there will be some repeats. I guess that means you have a better chance of getting the one you want, right? If you want to plant Sona, then please consider becoming a member of the channel today. Thank you Leland, Patrick Byerjean, Brightstreak, MD Switchy, Dojo Master, Jasper TV, Keep, Omegon, Gall Guy, Jep the Legend, Cheaper Ying, Gotham, Marie, Callum Ford, OK, Syro was taken, Christoc Creations, Perskill Benenner, Bo Vanderland, Checky, Green Man, yeah, Mr. Odell, Stuff Happens Sometimes, Tarky, Timur Kuranoff, Eduardo Santiago, Aaron the Ghoul, Freakish Smile, Cameron, Lavitane, The Flash Game Guy, and Bordeaux de Bordeaux. Can you believe I didn't base my rankings mostly off of their designs for once? That's usually my entire MO in these things if you haven't noticed. Trust me, putting Green Shadow and Solar Flare lower than S was extremely painful for me, like come on! I'm just saying, if this was a waifu tier list it would look a lot different. I really tried my best here and I hope you appreciate the effort I put into I really tried my best here and I hope you appreciate the effort I put into make